I walked in, so instead of me going over to the team, because I knew I had a few minutes, instead of me going over somebody, I just cleaned the whole room. Like, that was my thought pattern. Like, I'm just going to support you guys so you can, because I saw them working, they were doing their stuff, and I had a few minutes to spare. So it's interesting how I'll even jump in and support them. I'll clean the toilets, I'll clean the floor. Like, to me, it doesn't matter. Like, a title is a title just for the ability to form a structure, but the outcome is team. Welcome to Miami. Whatever comes to my mind at that moment.
So I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think the yes let's theory is great because it does promote team buy-in, but then you end up with the individual. I've said yes to this, I've said yes to this, I've yes to this. Now I'm spread out.
Stretched.
Yes.
Yes, I like it. So I agree.
No, I need an
so I agree with you. So there. So I agree with you. So I tell people. People come to me for projects all the time. I have 4 schools. I have an institute. I have a nonprofit. I travel around the country. So a lot of the time, I get to my core team when they need something done. I knock it out. If it's people coming in from outside saying, "Hey, we want to do this. You want to do that?" Be like, "Right now, here's my 1-year game plan. I have this to do. Let's put it on a list. Let's talk next year. Let's talk in 6 months when stuff frees up." So my core team, though, I find that if I take care of them, they'll take care of everything else. And and that includes my family, my friends, and my team at work. So just depending on, like if I don't sign a check, then somebody doesn't get paid, right? Or like that's where my position's at this point. So it's interesting being a superintendent of a private school district and being, on duty, a few times a year with Eddie and speaking around the country. So I'm very mindful of that. And I tell people, I go, here's the deal. Here's my commitments. I would love to, or could I introduce you to somebody that could help you?
So a nice way of saying no.
It's a nice way of saying no. And sometimes I flat out say that doesn't align with my vision. But for my core team, I definitely support them where that. Or, what's interesting is my position. I see X up here as I'm here as superintendent. I have 3 deputy or assistant superintendents. Then I have my deans and my staff. So a lot of my team, like let's say somebody want to lead teachers, will say, "Hey, I want to do it like this," and I'm like, at the end of the day, we need you to do this, and I explain why. Because I see it as a big vision, but I also say, why do you need this done like this on the floor? And if they tell me and it doesn't make sense for me, then I'll say, here's what we need you to do because of this. And so it's more for the team growth. Like they might understand, I need to take care of these 3 kids today. Well, let's get a TA or let's get another person in. So I support them where they're at as much as I can, but I do tell people outside of my team a lot more no. But if I can add some value, I'll do a phone call or I'll add some value to their life. But I agree with you, definitely. Your commitments get to stay your commitments, and if you're overworked, overstretched, you're never going to get your commitments done. So I agree with you. But as a team, just to play, like if somebody on duty, if you're already at work and they're like, "Hey, I need some support on this," let's knock it out. Yes, sir?
Are you implementing this? I'm just trying to get an understanding. Are you implementing this with your administrators? Are you implementing this with kids?
Yep, both. So if one of my deans that runs a school comes in and says to the lead teachers or to somebody else, "Hey guys, can you clean, I'll give you an example. I went to school probably 3 months ago and the floors were dirty in one of the classrooms. I walked in, so instead of me going over to the team, because I knew I had a few minutes, instead of me going over somebody, I just cleaned the whole room. Like that was my thought pattern. Like I'm just going to support you guys so you can, because I saw them working, they were doing their stuff, and I had a few minutes to spare. So it's interesting how I'll even jump in and support them. I'll clean the toilets, I'll clean the floor. Like to me, it doesn't matter. Like a title is a title just for the ability to form a structure, but the outcome is team. So, and if somebody's not busy and they're just sitting around, "Hey, can you knock this out real quick?" But most of my team, when they see something clean or something that needs to be done, because we run them through a white belt before we even hire you. Like you do like a 2-day like this, and we see how people play before we even think about hiring. Then we put them on a admin, like a process for like a semester just to see how you play. And then we throw you through a red belt, which is like 3 times harder than this white belt. This white belt's super simple. And then we'll throw you through a black belt, which is a 4-day. So we have a process of vetting culture in our organization because I only want the culture that's for the culture. And so sometimes like our staff will get sick. I'm like, take a day or two off. Like we'll put somebody in place. We'll move somebody from one school to another. Or we'll add something, so I want to make sure my team is taken care of. If you get sick, you have an emergency, we're going to take care of your health and you, because that's number one. If you're not healthy, you can't serve the kids. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Is the mindset of that set that you want to do, or that it needs to be done?
So I think both. Like sometimes it needs to be done because you can't function without it. Like if if let's say your patrol car needs to get serviced, and you're like, man, I got to run all this stuff, and I'm like, hey, could you go like drop it off for me real quick? I know you haven't, or you're like, or let's say we're hanging out and we're partners on the road. He could just say, hey, he hears that and he knows that I have a meeting with the chief or something like that. He could just say, hey, can I drop it off for you real quick? So it's interesting on how I can now, and that's what I do with Eddie and the team is my thought is how can I solve your problem with me understanding what the problem is before you even have to ask to solve the problem. And so if I can work efficiently, he doesn't even have to use energy to do it.